hidden realm I have overseen for longer than time itself.
Ich kann das auch langsam genug sagen.
These waters harbor deadly secrets.
Die ist so richtig am Beeilen. Exalted!
Rayclast is reflected here.
Contains reflection of commander. Defeat mutant reflection of stop water tile with an empty tile. Okay. Da baust du dir eine eigene Insel anscheinend zusammen. Das ist natürlich übel nice, wenn du dir so einen Rundgang bauen kannst. Also ich glaube, besser geht's im Prinzip schon nicht. Dann spawnst du wahrscheinlich auf einen von den leeren Plättchen. Also das ist jetzt direkt eine Vermutung von mir, aber so wäre es halt wahrscheinlich. Deswegen bin ich da sehr gespannt drauf.
Assemble it as you see fit.
Ja, sieht so aus. Das war dumm, was er gemacht hat.
Distorts reality. Beware the image that strikes back.
Ja, also keine Ahnung, was ihr davon halten würdet. Kass und Crit ist hier auf jeden Fall richtig strong für einen Seasons-Start oder das Minion-Bild. Aber wir arbeiten ja auch gerade an dem Flickerstrike-Bild. Und ich muss sagen, also das ist halt eine Map, die abgeschlossen ist, wo man halt die ganze Zeit Mobs bekämpft. Ne? Wenn da jetzt nicht durchgehend krasse Bosse noch kommen, können wir da mit Flickerstrike alles easy wegmachen. Und ja, mit den Pots natürlich und den Seelen muss man dann natürlich trotzdem irgendwie arbeiten können. Aber ja, keine Ahnung, ne? Also craften kann man sich die auch ein bisschen selber. Weiß ich nicht. So schlecht wird es auf jeden Fall nicht. Ich habe noch kein krasses Equip, aber ja, ich glaube, Flickerstrike ist, ne? Diese Season dann da. Oder das Herald of Thunder Bild. Ist das ein neuer Spell? For New Gems, tatsächlich. Genau das wollte ich aber schon immer mal spielen, lustigerweise. Da gab es doch diesen anderen Gem, der so ähnlich ist. Jedes Mal, wenn du da einen Spell machst, also da setzt du auch so einen Storm oder sowas. Und jedes Mal, wenn du einen Spell machst und den hittest, dann hittet der auch nochmal extra. Ansonsten, glaube ich, alle 1,5 Sekunden oder so. Genau. Und sowas wollte ich damit schon mal machen, aber mit dem Ding, wenn du Increased Area of Effect hast, dann setzt du das eigentlich irgendwo hin, dann macht das alles also für dich alles die Arbeit. Ist ja auch nice. Da kannst du ja währenddessen sogar noch Sachen machen, deswegen ist das halt nice. Ne? Das kann man dann in so einen Cast und Crit reintun und vielleicht sogar in das 6 linkt, ne? Und dann hast du hier, sagen wir mal, wenn du hier drüber rennst und das spawnt dann einfach irgendwo, macht dann für dich alles weg. Ist ja easy. Ja, vielleicht wird es doch ein Cast und Crit am Anfang. Es geht ja nur um den Start, ne? Weil das Soul Flicker Strike Bild, was wir jetzt spielen, das kann teuer werden dann nachher. Und ja, bevor man halt Money hat, muss man halt erstmal Money generieren, ne? Hä? Warte, was? Nee, bevor man Geld ausgeben will, muss man natürlich erstmal Geld haben. So. Okay. Keine schlimmen Items. Also das ist alles Wack, was da angezeigt wird. Das ist schon mal sehr gut. Wacke Items zu reworken ist das Beste, was du machen kannst. Rechts oben die Boots, die sind gut für Animated Guardian. Ich hoffe, dass der Effekt für als Aura nicht weg ist. Wack. Das ist ja echt alles gut. Also gut, dass sie es reworken, weil das alles scheiße ist und man das nur zum Leveln verwendet. Die Handschuhe hier sind noch nice. Damit kann man echt eine gute Farmstrat bauen. Bin ich leider nie zugekommen. Das ist schade. Das ist der Curse Ring. Mal gucken, wie sie das überarbeitet haben. Hiermit kriegst du nämlich die Charges, wenn du stehen bleibst. Das ist alles wack. Das ist noch ein gutes Schild. Ich weiß nicht, wieso die das überarbeiten. Hier unten. Die Armor, die ist auch nur für Start gewesen. Die ist richtig krass gewesen für Stacking, also Dexterity-Stacking-Builds und so. Also für Unarmed Attacks. Ne? Also ich weiß nicht, ob ihr das jemals schon mal gesehen habt. Ich habe es leider noch nie im Stream gespielt. Aber du kannst ja unarmed spielen und dann ohne Waffen und im Bestfall, ich weiß nicht, wie das nochmal heißt, auch ohne Handschuhe mit diesem einen Gem und dann, keine Ahnung, mit Cyclen oder so und dann machst du halt alles weg. Du machst richtig viel Damage, aber du hältst halt nicht so viel aus. Ne? Das ist dann wie, da kann ich lieber Flicker Strike spielen, bin ich ehrlich. Bin ich noch mal schneller unterwegs. Der Bogen hier ist auch nice, dass der überarbeitet wird. Ich bin zwar kein Bogenspieler, die Handschuhe auch. Das hier sind auch Handschuhe, die du bei Unarmed Attacks verwendest. Keine Ahnung, warum die überarbeitet werden. Also, ich spiele damit nie und ich habe noch nie ein Bild damit gesehen, vielleicht deswegen. Nice. Ja, so gut wie alles davon wird überarbeitet. Das gefällt mir schon mal sehr gut. Das hier ist, glaube ich, das Ding für ein Level, oder? Das ist nicht so gut, wenn das weg ist. Weg wäre. Aber wir werden es
The lake calls
Okay.
you, exile. Will you endure? Or will you drown?
Okay. Nee, das sieht ja erstmal schon mal sehr gut aus. Immerhin wieder mal irgendwas anderes, wo man hingeht, ne? Nicht etwas, wo man halt, keine Ahnung, auf der Map ist und dann einfach
In the
so einen
Kalendra Challenge
Turm
League, you will
aktiviert.
travel to the mirrored lake that granted Kalendra her powers of reflection. We want you to experience the story for yourself, so I'll avoid spoiling the
Na, warte, ich mach mal für Leute, die nicht so gut Englisch können, den Untertitel an, aber auf Deutsch. So.
details here. When you get to explore the league next week, you'll find out more about Kalendra and her motivations. Your experience with Kalendra so far is probably of her coveted mirror, which duplicates items by reflecting them. Her lake itself has the power to reflect entire encounters from elsewhere in Rayclust. As you explore the lake, these reflections emerge from its mirrored surface. Sometimes these reflections are encounters with hordes of monsters, and sometimes you'll encounter extremely powerful foes, reflected from elsewhere in Rayclust.
Das spricht zum Beispiel wieder gegen Flicker Strike.
Often,
Weil ihr wisst ja, wie abgefuckt das teilweise ist als Flicker Strike-Spieler. Wenn du nicht über die 50% Crit-Chance kommst, dann ist es sehr wahrscheinlich, oder keinen Multistrike hast, also Awakened Multistrike, dann ist es sehr wahrscheinlich, dass man halt verkackt bei Bossen, weil du Charges einfach verlierst. Ne? Du musst halt entweder eine sehr hohe Crit-Chance haben und Terminus Est, das Tiger Sword da haben. Tiger Sword Terminus Est? Ja, keine Ahnung, wie rum man das ausspricht. Ist auf jeden Fall, dieses Schwert hat ja, generiert jedes Mal Frenzy Charges, wenn du crittest. Damit kannst du schon grundsätzlich spielen. Selbst wenn du gar keinen anderen Income hast, ne, kannst du damit immer spielen. Ne? Weil, sagen wir mal, hast du eine 100% Crit-Chance, kriegst du bei jedem Hit einen Charge. Ne? Das ist auf jeden Fall möglich, aber das ist immer gecapped an Physical Damage und so. Das ist dann sehr schade, ne? Weil du kannst eigentlich viel mehr Physical Damage machen, also Grundschaden. Und mit Flicker machst du viele Attacks. Deswegen, naja.
reflections involve League content, such as this encounter with a Harbinger boss.
Parts, nein.
As you
Keiner
play
will
through the
Shards.
league, you'll occasionally encounter a set of columns protruding from the ground, with a mirrored tablet on top. This tablet invites you to construct a custom set of encounters at the Lake of Kalendra,
Ach, jedes
offering a
Mal.
series of different reflections to place in whatever layout you wish.
Okay.
Each of these reflections represents an encounter that you must defeat when you next travel to the lake. Once you have assigned a reflection to every location on your mirror tablet, which will take a few areas, you can open a portal to the Lake of Kalendra itself. There you will get to experience these reflections of Rayclust as Kalendra manifests each encounter you have chosen.
Wie der einfach kaum Schaden kriegt.
But as you push farther out onto the lake-shrouded waters, you will find each encounter to be more difficult but more rewarding. This difficulty value counts up by 1 for each location away from the entrance the encounter is.
Ah, okay, ich verstehe. Das heißt, würde man jetzt hier noch einen hinsetzen, würde das auch entweder 6 oder 8 werden. Wahrscheinlich 6. Ne? Aber wenn das hier starten würde, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 könnte man dann haben. 11, 12, ne 11 wäre, glaube ich, das Maximum, wenn du hier startest. Nee, das würde ja dann auch hier wieder mit cappen. Ah, okay, alles klar. Vielleicht gibt's ja noch
Players
größere
wanting the
Tafeln.
best rewards will try to engineer tablets that have long, windy strings of encounters, reaching very high
Ah, siehst du genau, wie ich es gerade gezählt habe. Ja.
difficulty values by the end.
Nice.
To do this, there are occasional options that can be chosen which allow you to move and swap the entrance, reflections, and
Fabringer.
water tiles on the tablet. Additionally, as you
Ja,
progress
gibt
through
es.
the league,
Junge, was ist das für eine Tafel? Das heißt,
you'll be able to
das kann
unlock
richtig
special
eskalieren.
abilities that let you manipulate the options you have available on each tablet. If you don't like any of the choices available to you, you can earn the ability to skip picking one entirely. The next ability is even stronger. It lets you re-roll the list of options so that you can immediately pick another one. Finally, you can earn the ability to exile a choice entirely. For the rest of this tablet, that choice will no longer appear. Once you reach maps, you'll be able to itemize your mirrored tablets so that they don't have to be played immediately. They can be stored for later or traded with other players.
Lol. Auch getradet?
As you visit the Lake of
okay.
Kalenda to attempt your mirrored tablets, there are many types of rewards you can find.
Holla.
An encounter that is based on a past league implicitly grants the rewards from that league, but with extra juice so that you're not missing out on bonuses you'd have obtained if your Atlas tree applied to the lake. Other encounters that aren't based on past leagues generally yield a reward chest that rises out of the lake when you complete the encounter. Certain reflections grant you access to a new variation on rare items, exclusive to the Kalenda Challenge League. When you complete the encounter, you'll get access to some reflecting mist, which presents you with a difficult choice. It generates a rare ring or amulet with an unusual set of mods. Some are very high and some are very negative, which hurt your character. The item is then duplicated with a reflected copy having
Hä? Digga, was? Und dann kannst du dir eins davon aussuchen. Reduced Cold Damage, Energy Shield, Reduced Mana. Aber du brauchst doch alle Stats davon, damit der Ring überhaupt worth ist. Ja, das müssen wir uns jetzt gerade nochmal reinziehen. Generate an amulet or ring alongside its reflection. One copy may keep and the other one must be returned to the lake. Okay, ja klar.
It generates a rare ring or amulet with an unusual set of mods. Some are very high and some are very negative.
Also very high stimmt schon, aber minus 70% Lightning Resistance zum Beispiel. Vielleicht kann man da aber krasse Sachen durchbauen. Also sagen wir mal einen, wie nennt sich's? Ein Righteous Fire Spieler, ja, mit dieser Fire Aura. Der zum Beispiel könnte ja jetzt krasse Lebensstats darauf rollen. Vielleicht spielt er auch mit Energy Shield und mit krassen Energy Shield Stats noch arbeiten. Also wenn du Inquisitor bist, geht das ja. Und dann steht da minus Fire Resistance und dann wäre das okay, weil du eh Maximum Fire Resistance durch dein Dings hast, durch dein Aura meistens. Also du erhöhst das Cap ja und du hast dadurch mehr, also was soll's.
Which hurt your character.
Okay,
The item is then
interessant.
duplicated, with a reflected copy having inverse mods. Negative ones are now positive and vice versa. The amount that all of these mods are scaled up by is based on the difficulty of the encounter you just completed.
Aber der hat auch Reduced Cold Damage, oder nicht? Nee, das ist Increased, alles klar. So
It'll often be a tough choice, with each item having its own strong pros and cons. But sometimes, you'll be offered an item where the negative mods aren't downsides for your build, and the juiced up positive mods are very attractive.
Genau, ja.
There are
Genau,
also
das
some
hab ich
special
grad gesagt. 105 Strength? Was? 136 Leben und 105 Strength. Ja, Digga, das wird sowas von ein Cast-on-Crit-Bild. Dann nehme ich halt Purity of Elements mit, wenn du ja 1000 Auren dabei haben kannst, hast du alle negativen Elemental-Effekte nicht mehr. Also mit Inquisitor. Nimmst dann hier 136 Leben und 105 Strength mit, aber Digga, das ist übel krank. Das skaliert dann richtig krass mit dem Leben und so. Und du hast halt richtig krasse Stats. Das wäre vielleicht auch sogar für ein Minion-Bild wieder attractive. So ein Strength-Stacking-Zombie-Spieler, ne, Zombie-Army von früher, könnte dann wieder interessanter werden. Ich weiß auch nicht, ob das
new jewelry base types that you can rarely receive from this process. One rare and difficult encounter rewards you with an advanced version of this crafting process. It allows you to bring your own ring or amulet, distorting and reflecting it with the same process described before. The mods are scaled up in value.
Plus 2 Level to Fire. Ich hab's gehofft. Ich hab's so gehofft. Dann geht das vielleicht auch mit Frenzy Charges. Oh je, du kannst so viele Possibilities. Also hier hast du Damage over Time weniger und Lightning Resistance. Das könnte einem sogar egal sein. Reduced Global Critical Strike Chance ist schon wieder ein bisschen ekliger. Weil normalerweise spielt man immer mit Crit-Chance, außer du spielst mit Righteous Fire. Und dafür ist das zum Beispiel wieder sehr gut. Daraus spiele ich auch, glaube ich, gerade an, weil du hast hier viel Mana, ziemlich viel Leben, bisschen Attributes und plus 2 to all Fire Gems auf einem Amulett. Schon nicht schlecht. Auch wenn das sehr viele Downsides hat. Und ich weiß nicht, ob das wirklich besser sein kann, wie sagen wir mal, ein Unique. Aber wenn du halt, keine Ahnung, nachher min-max, dann kann man sich das, glaube ich, ausrechnen im POE.
And some are randomly negated. The reflected copy has the inverse set of negations. It will certainly be tempting to gamble with some of your best jewelry to try to double the values that
Hast du hier echt minus 2 Level auf All Fire Skill Gems? Dann sind die nur Level 18. Wenn du mit Fire Gems spielst, keine Chance.
It will certainly be tempting to gamble with some of your best jewelry to try to double the values that really matter for your build and negate the ones you don't care about.
Ja. Okay, ich verstehe. Das heißt aber auch, also doof gesagt, nur nochmal, um auf diese Ring-Sache anzukommen, diese Season könnte die Season sein, wo es irrelevant ist, ob du einen schlechten Ring gefunden hast oder nicht, solange da 3 Stats drauf sind, die dich extrem ansprechen. Du kannst ja, wie du siehst, ja auch einen drauf craften, der dann irrelevant für dich ist. Und den dann da einfach reinpacken und hoffen, dass die 3 Sets, die für dich relevant sind, die da drauf sind, halt besser werden. Das ist ja übel strong. Also so ähnlich hat er es zwar auch gerade gesagt, aber mir ging es halt darum, dass du halt auch mit Kack-Items, wo du sagst uns, ja geil, da sind 3 geile Stats drauf und dann hast du da 1 bis 4 Physical Damage drauf auf so einem Ring, ne? Diese Meme-Ringe halt. Dann wäre dir das irrelevant, wenn das minus 1 bis 4 Physical Damage sind, ne? Aber wenn die anderen Sets davon richtig krass sind, dann kannst du die Items jetzt verwenden. Nice. Damit haben die da so ein bisschen ihr System da umgangen, Kack-Rolls zu kriegen. Wer ist Level 84 Item, dann steht da 1 bis 4 Physical Damage drauf.
And negate the ones you don't care about. If you're very lucky, you may find a special League-exclusive unique ring at the lake. Kalendra's touch mirrors the effect of your other ring. The Kalenda Challenge League has something for everyone. It's an out-of-area combat league where you build your own sequences of encounters. It lets you fully dictate your desired level of risk and reward and fully customize what content you play. It features a...
Achso, mir fällt gerade ein, klar, wenn du mit dem Stacking-Ding spielst, also Bild spielst, also Strength und Int im Bestfall, dann brauchst du nur die beiden Sachen auf dem Ring zu haben. Das geht ja mit 50-50, sagen wir mal, gibt es ja jetzt schon. Ja? Und wenn das dann erhöht wird, also Strength und Int, auf 100 und du den dann reflektierst, dann kriegst du 200, also ein 200er Stat durch die Ringe, dann trägst du noch, sagen wir mal, ein Amulett am Kopf, ja, und dann hast du safe schon über 1000er Stats da, wenn du das in den passiven Skilltree noch mitgenommen hast, ne? Also Inquisitor, Cast und Crit, das habe ich ja sehr viel gespielt, die liegen davor. Der kann man ja sogar jetzt wieder mit Blitzen arbeiten, sogar mit diesem einen neuen Spell da. Boah.
Powerful crafting system, valuable rewards, and offers a glimpse into the lore of one of Path of Exile's most iconic characters. We can't wait to play it with you next week. In every expansion leading up to Path of Exile 2's release, we'll be improving Path of Exile's endgame with new content to explore and new ways to customize your endgame experience. In the Lake of Kalenda expansion, we're introducing Atlas Memories. They aren't a League feature, they're part of the core game, affecting standard and persisting once the Kalenda League has ended. In maps, you'll very rarely find a memory item, which represents a set of memories that an NPC has about their past. Something special happened to them while exploring maps, and you're able to experience those events for yourself. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. In this Atlas memory, Kirik tells you about the time that he stumbled across a staging ground for a Harbinger invasion of Rayclust. Each successive map you play in the sequence has more and more Harbinger portals and invaders that you must deal with. This is a memory of Nico's, where he entered a sequence of maps that were entirely consumed by permanent breaches, like a Breachlord's domain. He survived to talk about it, but will you? Right-click a memory and apply it to a completed map on your atlas. It'll mark out a series of adjacent maps that the atlas memory will span. When you next talk to the relevant NPC in your hideout, they'll tell you about their recollections and will allow you to start exploring the memory. Each map in the sequence is provided for free by the NPC, and you'll be able to roll it like usual before running it.
Lol, okay, das ist auch
Because these maps are memories of the NPC, they are not affected
Insane.
by your atlas tree. However, the content is generally as difficult
Klar,
and rewarding.
wer haut nicht Chaos auf Maps, um die zu verändern, wenn das irgendwie, ach, keine Ahnung, ja. Das ist auch kein Chaos da drauf. Also, wofür?
As a fully specialized atlas tree would cause it to be. Each successive map in the sequence gets harder and more rewarding as the memories intensify. While memories are tradable, they're also very rare and valuable, so you'll probably want to complete them yourself if you can. For players who love lore, atlas memories help expand on the backstory of key NPCs. For players wanting to try out different league mechanics at quite high levels of juice that they haven't specialized their atlas for, memories let them do this without a bunch of respecking. And for everyone else, atlas memories are a great way to earn some valuable items, if you're strong enough to complete them.
Okay. Ja, also das sagt dir jetzt im Prinzip nur, wenn du genug Damage hast und wenn du genug aushältst dann, und die schaffst, dann kriegst du natürlich besseren Stuff und so. Und sagen wir es mal so, mit Flicker Strike one-shottest du ja so gut wie alles, wenn du das Bild fertig gebaut hast und so. Aber du stirbst halt sehr schnell. Und das passiert ja eigentlich mit dem Cast- und Crit-Bild nicht. Da muss ich auf jeden Fall einfach nur mal gucken, wie das mit neuen Items und so möglich ist. Ich weiß jetzt nicht zum Beispiel, ob die Mjölnir zum Beispiel nochmal überarbeitet haben. Da kann man sich nämlich richtig billig einen Cast- und Crit-Bild zusammenbauen. Ansonsten, also ein Eisbild oder so ist dann natürlich stronger. Aber da hast du dann nicht so viele Effekte von. Ja, müssen wir mal gucken.
The Lake of Kalenda expansion also contains a new unique map that I'm quite excited about.
Natürlich.
The Trial Master is back. This boss from Ultimatum, and more importantly the unique items he drops, have been sorely missed and will be making a return as the Tower of Ordeal's unique map in Lake of Kalenda. This map can be created by completing difficult endgame Val content. We have not forgotten about the rest of Ultimatum and have a specific plan for how it will return in the future. Whenever we're improving Path of Exile's endgame, we take every opportunity we can to add new variations of rewards that you can find. We don't want to say too much about how these are acquired,
Oh, das ist ein dritter Effekt. Und alles mit 6%.
but in this expansion, it's possible to very rarely find special foil versions of any pinnacle boss unique item.
Lol.
These have the same stats as regular ones, but are certain to be highly prized by collectors or wealthy players wanting to show off.
Lol.
The Lake of Kalenda expansion contains 14 new unique items. In addition to the Kalendra's Touch ring that is exclusive to the Kalenda Challenge League, we have introduced a new endgame pinnacle boss reward, a supporter unique, the Tower of Ordeal's unique map, 6 new Grand Spectrum jewels, and even some leveling uniques. The first we're showing you today is Soul Ascension, a pair of gloves designed by Zizaran.
Soul Eater Stacks.
They drop from the Uber Elder. Soul Eater is a very powerful buff, but it is usually hard to obtain in boss fights. This unique grants you the ability to gain stacks of Soul Eater when you hit a unique enemy, but also makes you lose those stacks if you aren't near one. Ghostwrithe is a leveling unique which allows you to play as an almost pure energy shield character during
Was? Was? Das ist ja übel strong. 50% Chaos Resistance ist da drauf. Energy Shield en masse. Leben. Und 50% deines Lebens konvertierst du. Das ist irrelevant für so Sachen wie, sagen wir mal, wenn ich Cast und Crit spiele, dann ziehst du, sagen wir mal, die Armor an, wo du halt keinen Schaden normalerweise durchs Schild bekommst, Chaos-Schaden. Wenn du jetzt aber das noch akzeptieren würdest, weil du jetzt ja Chaos Resistance drauf, könntest du ja trotzdem noch sehr viel von deinem Leben reservieren und einfach Chaos Resistance auch hochmachen, ne? Und dann splittet sich sogar der Schaden, was auch manchmal sehr praktisch ist, weil du dann halt, ja, du regenerierst ja so oder so beides, ne?
During early parts of the campaign. We'll reveal the other new unique items in this expansion over the next week.
Ah, ja, siehst. Will mehr wissen.
Path of Exile has a lot of unique items in its core drop pool, over 700 in fact. We feel that there are two big problems with unique items at the moment. The first is that you find too many, and the second is that they are generally pretty useless when you do. Sure, there are some powerful endgame or build enabling uniques that feel amazing to find, but the majority of unique items found throughout the game are rarely actually useful to you. In the Lake of Kalenda expansion, we have made a lot of changes here. We have reduced the overall drop rate of uniques throughout the game and have rebalanced and overhauled over 100 existing unique items, with an emphasis on uniques in the core drop pool, including leveling uniques and some endgame uniques. You're going to find unique items less frequently now, but when you do, they're going to be a lot more punchy.
Okay.
Nexus Lantern has been completely changed from the ground.
Was? Was?
Previously, it was trying to allow you to play a hybrid attacker and spellcaster, but it didn't really work very well. With the new design, it's a lot more elegant and delivers on this goal by simply granting high damage and the Battle Mage effect, so that your weapon damage is added to your spells. Thousand Ribbons is an example of an item where we merely needed to tweak values on the existing mods to make it a lot better. We want mod value rolls to matter more, and this item now showcases that well.
Ah, okay, das heißt, das ist ja so ein Item, wo du gefühlt, ne, alles drauf hattest. Ja, und jetzt lohnt sich das vielleicht auch mal am Anfang, gerade am Anfang zu tragen. Requires Item Level 90. Steht jetzt nicht drauf, wie viel ein Level man braucht. Aber das war auf jeden Fall so ein Ding, wenn du das hast, dann kannst du damit auf jeden Fall gut leveln. Elemental Profilation, ja, nice. Der ist ja perfekt im Prinzip. Okay. Also damit kannst du jetzt auf jeden Fall was anfangen, ausnahmsweise.
If you find a high rolled one early on, you're probably not replacing it for a long time.
Ja.
Malachai's Simula was trying to deliver the Blood Mage fantasy by allowing you to spend life to cast your spells.
Enlighten Spells Double Damage. Lol, was? Spells have 20% chance to deal double damage?
This was meant to be special because the Blood Magic keystone was far away from the witch starting location on the skill tree. Unfortunately,
Lol. Da fällt mir ein, da kannst du natürlich dann gut mit einem Meme-Bild wieder arbeiten, ne? Also sagen wir mal so, diese Herald of Thunder Autobomber zum Beispiel könnte sehr gut damit arbeiten, wenn du dann auch noch dieses Ding dabei hast, mit dem, dass du das Lightning Spells Triple Damage immer macht oder so. Ich weiß nicht mehr genau. Oder dann, da gab es ja diese Staffs of North oder so, ne? Oder West oder was auch immer. Da muss man mal gucken.
this item wasn't really powerful enough to justify its use. It has now been overhauled, and alongside Blood Magic, it grants a powerful multiplicative damage boost. With over 100 uniques rebalanced in this way, your play experience is now punctuated by quite large bursts of power when you find one. We'll continue to examine the power level and rarity of more unique items in subsequent expansions. The Lake of Kalenda expansion includes 3 new skill gems and 1 new support gem. Alchemist's Mark is a new mark skill. Igniting or poisoning the marked target creates burning or caustic ground underneath them, based on the damage of the strongest ignite or poison on the enemy. The damage of the ground effects also scales with Curse and Mark effect, providing a non-standard way to scale your build's damage. Hitting the marked target also refills some of your flask charges. This new skill opens up an extra source of damage for Ignite or Poison-focused characters, especially for Ignite builds that want an alternative to Flame Surge, or Poison builds that cause fewer, higher damage poisons. This high-level build uses Flame Blast, with 100% of the damage converted to Chaos, to inflict huge poisons on enemies. When Alchemist's Mark is cast on an enemy first, that enemy drops Caustic Ground when it's poisoned, scaled by those big Flame Blast poison hits, melting everything into a puddle. Galvanic Field is a new shock-themed spell. When used, you gain a buff, granting a small bonus chance to shock. When you next shock an enemy, the buff is consumed and the enemy becomes energized, repeatedly zapping themselves and nearby targets, a lot like ball lightning. If the energized enemy dies, then the energy sits at their location and continues to zap things.
Ja, und jetzt stellt euch das mit Kass und Crit vor.
Galvanic Field's area of effect and zap damage scale with the strength of the shock on the target. While Galvanic Field is great for any build that shocks, you can even fully build around it, and use a skill with increased shock effectiveness like Arc to shock enemies and kill them with a ball of death. Lightning Conduit is another new shock-themed spell. A wave propagates out from the target location, causing lightning bolts to strike all shocked enemies in a large area. The damage is scaled by the strength of the shock on each enemy. Lightning
Was? Das könnte auch mit Kass und Crit. Das werden, also mit 2 Mjölnir Builds kannst du da auf jeden Fall einiges raushauen. Also Arc, diesen Ball auf einen von den Mjölnirs und also Arc auf einen von den Mjölnirs und diesen Ball und dieses Item da auf jeden Fall in den 6 linkt.
Conduit cannot itself shock and won't hit non-shocked enemies at all, so the challenge with this skill is to find a way to consistently apply powerful shocks to your targets to make the most of Lightning Conduit's high damage potential and area of effect. This high-level build uses Wave of Conviction to shock enemies, before casting Lightning Conduit until they're obliterated. For longer fights, it can employ Galvanic Field to create a constant source of lightning damage. Last but not least, Overcharge Support is a new support gem that causes supported skills to deal less damage, but makes them inflict much stronger shocks and grants them a higher chance to shock. Overcharge lets many different lightning skills create powerful shocks. Use this to take advantage of Shock's large damage multiplier or to activate Lightning Conduit and Galvanic Field.
Okay, da wird sehr viel
As Path of
draufgebaut.
Exile expands, we often revisit previous leagues, reworking them so they stay relevant and engaging. In Lake of Kalenda, we are targeting 3 such leagues: Archnemesis, Beyond, and Harvest. The larger context here is that we've been re-examining what role rare and magic monsters have in Path of Exile. The introduction of Archnemesis modifiers as the monster mod pool prompted quite a lot of discussion about how often you should encounter rare and magic monsters, how difficult they should be to kill, and how rewarding their death should be. Previously, League content made fights hard by spawning a lot of rare monsters. A whole lot. In some cases 6 to 8 times the normal rate of rare monsters. Now that we have better mods available to make fights against rare monsters individually challenging, we have gone through the whole game and normalized the rate that rare monsters are spawned at.
Wow.
Some leagues had quite large reductions in spawn rate. You won't encounter situations with dozens of rare monsters on screen at once anymore. Alongside this reduction of how many rare monsters you'll face, we have improved their rewards and made sure that they scale with both difficulty of the encounter and any item rarity or quantity bonuses that you have. During the campaign, you'll only encounter 1 and 2 mod rare monsters. The 2 mod encounters are a bit harder and have better drops. In maps, you'll stop encountering 1 mod rare monsters entirely, and will mostly encounter 2 and 3 mod rare monsters. It'll also be possible to encounter 4 mod rare monsters again. Not only are the innate item drop bonuses scaled up significantly on monsters with many mods, but we have made these challenging encounters rewarding in another way too.
Okay.
About a third of the more powerful Archnemesis modifiers now use a special reward conversion.
Also das war ja auch wieder sehr interessant. Es ist zwar sehr nett, wenn die mehr aushalten und man weniger gespawnt kriegt, beziehungsweise nicht mehr aushalten. So, also man spawnen ja weniger rare, also Mobs, aber trotzdem sollen die mehr rewarding sein, wenn man die killt. Es kann trotzdem sehr, also es ist auf jeden Fall nichts für Flicker-Strike, weil, dann killt er dich halt irgendwann mal, wenn der irgendeinen Kack-Modifier drauf hat. Und, du kannst da halt sehr wenig gegen tun, wenn du die töten musst oder so, weil die sich sonst nerven oder weil das Season-abhängig ist oder so. Da ist auf jeden Fall High-Crit-Multiplayer angesagt, denke ich mal.
About a third of the more powerful Archnemesis modifiers now use a special reward conversion system. For example, if you defeat a monster with a Corrupter mod, all of its drops become corrupted.
Das ist auch nice.
The Solaris Touched mod converts all of its item drops to maps.
Okay, das ist auch nice.
The Katava Touch mod will cause the rarity of its drops to be upgraded by 1 tier, so magic becomes rare, rare becomes unique, and so on. If you're lucky, you can find these conversion modifiers on both the 3rd and 4th mod of a rare monster. This causes them to stack together. So if you kill a 4 mod rare monster with both the Entangler and Katava Touched mods on it, its heavily juiced drops will also be converted to jewels with their rarity upgraded by a tier. Due to the high amount of inherent item rarity that 4 mod rare monsters have, this may result in several unique jewels dropping. This conversion system is fully compatible with your item rarity and quantity bonuses, as well as the drop bonuses from all other Arch-Nemesis mods. Going forward, we want to make sure that a lot more item reward mechanics scale with your character item bonuses. Get your Magic Find characters ready.
Ah, ach so.
As a result of
Ist ja nicht so, als wenn das Spiel schwer genug wäre. Magic Find Characters gibt's halt an meiner Stelle noch keinen. Tatsächlich habe ich noch nie einen spielen können aus einer Gruppe. Dementsprechend, ja, das, ich weiß nicht, was sie sich da vorstellen.
the system, when you do encounter a rare monster with many Arch-Nemesis mods, you are well rewarded for the difficult fight. We have also been listening to feedback about the Arch-Nemesis mods that can spawn on magic monsters. Too many of them had external visual clarity issues like on-death effects. We have toned these down on magic monsters so that more of them are stat-based bonuses that aren't so spammy. Encounters that spawn a series of magic monsters now make sure to preserve the same Arch-Nemesis modifiers between the monsters rather than rolling a different one for each monster. This will further help keep the game state understandable in hectic situations.
Okay. Wichtig.
Beyond was introduced in August 2014, initially as a hardcore-only challenge league. It's 8 years old now and certainly has several issues. Firstly, the art. Have you ever really taken a close look at a Beyond demon? It is literally a bandit from Act 2, dunked in red paint. The second issue is its balance. The number of magic and rare monsters spawned is so much higher than the rest of the game, and whatever problems that resulted in before are magnified now that rare monsters are meant to be more difficult. Beyond also spawns way too many unique bosses, which causes its own set of issues. In Lake of Kalenda, we have given Beyond much more than a fresh coat of paint. The Scourge have taken over the realm of the Beyond demons. The old bandit Beyond demons are gone. Summoning monsters from Beyond will now summon Scourge monsters and bosses. We have completely rebalanced the rate that Beyond monsters and bosses spawn at so that it's appropriate for modern Path of Exile. The new Beyond monsters can now occasionally drop the Scourge League's tainted currency items that allow you to modify corrupted items.
Nice. Wichtig.
We've also completely revamped how harvest crafting works. Rather than being presented with a selection of crafting options that must be used immediately, you now receive itemized tradable life force of the appropriate color. This life force can be used later, in your own time, at the Hoarder crafting bench in your hideout. Its crafting options are now priced in terms of this itemized life force currency. Tier 4 bosses are now encountered much more frequently and can drop a key to fight a Shabi. She yields special life force which can be used for a specific set of crafts. We have rebalanced all harvest crafts for the new system and have removed a bunch of filler crafts and some ones with deterministic outcomes that were incredibly RNG gated before. Some crafts that provided access to exclusive content, like the special offerings to the goddess, have been removed because these items can now be found in more appropriate locations elsewhere in the game. The result of these
wir ja auch schon
elsewhere
von Ringen mit Strength und Dexterity. Sagen wir mal, du willst das beides stacken, nimmst du jetzt diesen Ring, packst ihn einfach in so einen Kalender. Klar, du müsstest halt vielleicht noch irgendwie andere Stats drauf haben. Also der Stat müsste höher gerollt sein und dann kannst du halt richtig krasse Stats drauf.
The result of these changes is that when you complete a harvest, you aren't presented with 30 crafts which must either be used immediately or unsafely traded to some player you found on a community Discord server. It also means that every bit of life force you receive is going towards a craft that you actually want to use on one of your items, when you're ready to use it. Your interaction with the Sacred Grove is now far simpler as well. Just enter, pick your plots, defeat the monsters, and get on with your mapping. Like with Arch-Nemesis and Beyond, we have also addressed the monster composition of Harvest's fights, so that it doesn't contain too many rare monster mods and so that it is of appropriate difficulty for its rewards. In addition, the rewards for harvest now scale with map quantity and pack size, incentivizing you to juice your maps. Previously, the crafts you received were not scaled up at all if you played a harder map. Last week, we posted this expansion's character balance manifesto, which detailed the many changes we're making in Lake of Kalenda. There are plenty more changes, which we will include in the full patch notes that will be posted after this livestream.
Okay.
But on this stream, I'd like to talk about a few specific areas: minion itemization, Exalted and Divine Orbs, and the Trickster Ascendancy class. Historically, minion builds have not been particularly reliant on the stats of their items. Most of the power of their minions came from their skill and support gems. This led to a few problems. Firstly, it gave them a bit of a free ride compared to most other character builds. And secondly, it meant that it was hard for minion players to actually specialize their character to be really, really good. We want to solve both of these problems in this expansion. Path of Exile is a game about items, and that means that you will now be strongly rewarded for finding items that make your minions better. It also means that, like with other builds, if you find good items, you'll be far more damaging and survivable than before. We described a variety of minion changes in last week's character balance manifesto. Today I want to show you the new base item types we have added to help your minion itemization. We've added a new ring base type, the Bone Ring. This ring has implicit minion elemental resistances and can roll minion related modifiers.
Krass.
We've added level 20 and 50 versions of the Convoking Wand, called the Calling Wand and Covening Wand respectively.
Nice.
Like the Convoking Wand, these new base types can roll minion-related modifiers. Some new minion-related mods have been added to the pool available to these wands, and some existing mods have been adjusted or made more common. We have repurposed the bone-themed spirit shields so that they have minion damage implicit mods rather than spell damage, and can also roll minion-related mods.
Krass.
Alongside the stable of existing unique items, there's now quite a lot more base type support for minion characters, and good mods on those base types can stack up to some pretty large bonuses for your minions. I also wanted to discuss two of the rarest currency items in Path of Exile, Divine Orbs and Exalted Orbs. These actually have the same drop rate, but Exalted Orbs are worth so much more in trade because there's no easy vendor recipe for them, and because they're consumed when you craft certain meta mods onto items. Out of these two currency items, we would actually prefer the Divine Orb effect to be rarer, so that unique items with good rolls matter more, and so that players can exalt craft their items more frequently. We are making two changes that will impact this. Firstly, we are changing the cost of crafting meta mods so that they cost Divine Orbs rather than Exalted Orbs. Secondly, we are changing the 6-link vendor recipe to grant 20 Orbs of Fusing rather than a Divine Orb. This change will result in Exalted Orbs being far more available for crafting, and Divine Orbs less available for re-rolling mods on items. It'll certainly be interesting to see what the de facto trade currency becomes next League.
Ja, gut, wenn man nicht mehr Exalted findet, dann craftet man damit logischerweise auch nicht, weil man damit lieber dann tradet, wenn die genauso viel noch wert sind. Und dadurch wird es wahrscheinlich darauf hinauslaufen, dass, also, keine Ahnung, damit immer noch keiner gecraftet wird. Also anscheinend wollen sie einfach nur, dass das Ding da seltener und teurer wird, aber nicht, dass das mit Exalted Orbs gecraftet wird, weil das macht halt keiner, wenn du damit halt dir dasselbe Item auch kaufen könntest, ohne eine random Luck-Chance zu haben, die gefühlt von 0,001% oder so ist. Ne? Also doof gesagt, das ist natürlich jetzt schon eine höhere Chance meistens auf den Items, je nachdem, das kann man sich ja gut ausrechnen, aber trotzdem, das lohnt sich nicht. Nee, wäre ich nicht der Fan von.
Next, I'd like to talk about the Trickster Ascendancy class. We haven't been happy with the state of this Ascendancy class recently. While it used to be quite powerful, we moved its defining feature, Ghost Dance, onto the main passive skill tree. Since then, it has had a confused identity and hasn't met the power level of the other Ascendancy classes. In this expansion, we have reworked the Trickster with a focus on establishing thematically appropriate defenses and ways to manipulate speed. One step ahead allows the Trickster to manipulate time in an interesting way. Enemies are slower than normal and cannot have their action speed raised above this value, such as through an acceleration shrine.
Okay.
Conversely, the Trickster is faster by default and cannot have action speed lowered below this value, effectively making them immune to effects that lower action speed such as freeze, chill, or temporal chains. Spellbreaker ties together spell suppression and energy shield in a powerful way. Spellbreaker grants some spell suppression chance, which is an effect that reduces damage taken from spells. The skill also starts your energy shield recharge half the time you suppress spells. Since Trickster characters tend to have a high evasion rating, you will be evading some hits and recharging on others, meaning that your energy shield recharge stays active most of the time. Spellbreaker also further improves defenses by reducing the damage you take from suppressed spells while on full energy shield. For those that want a different way to recover energy shield, the powerful Soul Drinker notable passive is no longer exclusive to Forbidden Jewels from the Uber-Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds. Any Trickster can now allocate this skill. Polymath provides more bonus damage, life, mana, and energy shield on kill for each different type of mastery you have allocated. It reinforces the idea of a Trickster being a jack of all trades, and will lead to interesting decisions when planning your passive tree, trying to fit in as many different types of masteries as possible. Overall, the new Trickster is intended to be the Shadow's answer to the Champion, but faster. He should be an exciting option for players who want to get a lot of evasion, energy shield, and recovery out of their Ascendancy class while still being able to melt enemies. Alongside today's livestream, we're launching two new series of supporter packs, the Knight and Rogue packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, plus several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available during the Kalenda League and will leave the store forever in 3 months. Every microtransaction you're about to see is entirely cosmetic and does not affect your character's progression or power. The Knight Pack series contains 6 exclusive microtransactions, including the full Knightmaster armor set. The Etheric Mana Flask releases a burst of mana upon activation, then draws in energy from the environment as your mana refills. The Hoarder's Stash is a stash skin that can be used in your hideout. As you place items in the stash, they hover above it until you're finished, before being sucked into storage.
Okay, krank.
This is the Knightmaster armor set. While wearing its helmet, your actions are periodically duplicated by an ethereal copy of yourself. The Blood Scouring Cloak absorbs blood as you slay monsters. It tracks your kill streak and cleans itself off when the slaughter ends. The Ring of the Victor causes a podium to rise up underneath you when you are standing still, elevating you above other players.
Seek refuge here.
The Warlord's Lieutenant Portal summons a warrior spirit who will greet you, cheer you on, and commend you on your actions.
Das ist natürlich unfassbar sexy.
The Rogue Pack series has 6 exclusive microtransactions, including the Rogue Stalker armor set. The Beast of Burden Pit visually carries your items for you, becoming more laden with bags and packs the more full your inventory gets.
Ey, wie cool ist das denn?
The Collector Serpent Shield covets the treasure you find. Whenever you pick up an item, the serpent darts out to grab it.
Okay.
This is the Rogue Stalker armor set. While wearing its gloves, critical strikes cause blades to appear and slice at your enemies. The Corpse Bloom footprints cause exotic plant growth in your wake. The plants especially love corpses and will seek them out and grow in larger patches around them. On the other hand, the Undertaker's Amulet inters corpses for you, burying them and marking their location with gravestones. The Unstable Explosives back attachment is not for the faint of heart. As your life gets lower and lower, it gets closer and closer to exploding. And when you die, your party members will certainly feel it. As I mentioned before, these packs are exclusive to the Kalenda League and will leave the store in 3 months. They're available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and they directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1 expansions like Lake of Kalenda. In addition, the supporter packs introduced with the Sentinel expansion are leaving the store forever in 1 week. Now's your last chance to purchase them, and we greatly appreciate your support. Speaking of things leaving the store, the Kyrix Vault Pass for Sentinel is only available for the next few days also, and will leave the store forever when the League ends. There's no penalty for purchasing the pass late in the League after you've wrapped up your map completion, so if you're pleased with where you got to in maps and Sentinel and want to lock in your unique skins, it's not too late to buy your pass. Next up, we've got the Q&A with Ziggy D. Once that ends, we'll post the full patch notes for Lake of Kalendra. Over the next week, our community team will post teasers for new and revamped unique items, upcoming quality of life improvements, and an announcement for the League launch race event. On launch weekend, we'll be running another set of Twitch drops, and expect to release the new Mystery Box and Kyrix Vault Pass in the days after launch. Thanks for joining us and checking out today's reveals. We can't wait to see you in Rayclast on August 19th. We'll begin the Q&A in a few moments, so please get your questions ready in chat.